Today on Grid Tonight, we'll discuss NASCAR's new car for 2022, video from Kristen Esperanza. How will this car change the game for NASCAR leading into 2022 and beyond? Welcome to Grid Tonight. Hello everyone, welcome to Grid Tonight, your weekly motorsports news program. I'm Joe Samriego. With me is Kobe Lambeth from the Podium Finish. We have a diverse lineup of racing news from all around the world to discuss, including the NASCAR Next-Gen car, of course, video courtesy of Christian Espinoza. We'll start off with some major crew chief changes in NASCAR.
Yeah, definitely, Joe. It was a major crew chief change going on. Adam Stevens is leaving Kyle Busch in the number 18 team to become Christopher Bell's new crew chief in 2021. Stevens and Busch have been paired up in the Cup Series since 2015. Busch went on to win the championship that year, and then all the duo have won 2 Cup titles together. Every year since 2015, they've always made it to the top 8 at the end of the year. And this year, they've only had 1 win, recently at Texas Motor Speedway, and they still ended up 7th in the final point standings. And with Stevens switching to the number 20 team, Ben Bayshore will serve as Kyle Busch's crew chief. Busch and Bayshore have found success in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, winning several races together, and Bayshore recently served as crew chief for Harrison Burton in Xfinity. Joe, here's my question for you. Do you think this was the right move to split up Kyle Busch and Adam Stevens, or a bit too reactive?
It appears to be a bit too reactive, as you mentioned. Yes, 1 win. But how many Cup drivers wish they had a win this year, considering how close they were coming 2 wins? However, there's one thing we don't see, and that's what's going on behind the scenes. What if this combination was at the point where their usefulness working together was coming towards the end, if they were starting to go different directions? One of the big things, of course, we talk about when it comes to the driver and the crew chief, chemistry. If the chemistry's there, you're going to have great success. At times, that chemistry is going to get tested. But whether or not the chemistry was still there between the two, that we don't know. And that's something that may have put a factor into the decision being made.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it was a bit reactive as well. I mean, if Adam Stevens and Kyle Busch had been having multiple bad seasons and the performance was declining, then I'd understand and change. But it was just one season, not up to par, not up to Kyle Busch standards. And I do think that this duo should have remained together for at least 1 or 2 more seasons and see what happens. Maybe they would have bounced back in 2021 or 2022, but we'll never know now because Joe Gibbs Racing thought it was the best option to split them up, or maybe there's something going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. Maybe a strained relationship between Kyle Busch and Adam Stevens. Yeah, and of course we'll probably never know for sure. But I do think based on what we know from the outside, it really does seem too reactive. And we know for most teams, this kind of season Kyle Busch had would be considered very successful. But Kyle isn't just going for a win like he had at Texas, but championships annually. Does this add pressure on any new crew chief going into the JGR Cup program that is championship or bust?
It does add pressure. One of the big things when it comes to racing, especially when you're with Kyle Busch in the Cup Series, 1 win is not going to cut it. We saw that. We saw how everyone's like, you only got 1 win. And a lot of people anticipated Martin Truex Jr. Had a caution came out, he probably likely would have won, changed the complex of the playoffs. Big thing, and this is where I feel like maybe this is where it's starting to get to. Kyle Busch, we know he demands a lot from the car. And Joe Gibbs Racing has provided him good cars. He demands a lot from the crew chief, and the crew chief has to be bringing their top game every single race. You can't just come prepare for some events and have a couple of races where we're not going to be that great. You have to be there great because Kyle Busch demands it. He wants to go out there. He wants to win, get championships. And I think that pressure is going to get to a point where you need to have a crew chief that essentially is going to say, hey, I know you are Kyle Busch. You are going for these championships. Let's work together. Let's make sure we're competitive week in and week out. And you got to trust me. I think one good example earlier we saw after the Coca-Cola 600, a lot of people questioning Chase Elliott's crew chief's call to stay out, to pit, and everyone stayed out. That is just something where it tested the relationship, but it kept going strong. They got a championship. With Kyle Busch, we know that relationship with him and Stevens have been tested time and time again. They always prevail. Maybe this year, something that we don't know created the change.
Well said, Joe. Well said. And in 2022, we're gonna have a brand new car with the next gen car, and that'll definitely change the game with with the drivers and the crew chiefs. In 2021 will be the last year of the Gen 6 car, and new challenges lie ahead. Could this move be a part of a long term plan to benefit both teams in 2022, and how?
One can see the potential. It's actually going to have a brand new career shape for Kyle Busch this year, and then of course you're going to have a new relationship between Adam Stevens and Christopher Bell. This year's car, 2021, that's the final year, brand new car. Christopher Bell and Adam Stevens will have 1 year working together. So when they get this new car, rather than starting up a new parent and a new car at the same time, you now have 1 year together and a brand new car. Same for Kyle Busch and his new crew chief. 1 year together, here comes a brand new car. You got a little bit of that chemistry. So this could be a part of a bigger plan that why wait another year? What if Kyle Busch and Adam Stevens only gets one win next year? We get the new car, we change crew chiefs, and then Kyle Busch again has one win. Do it now. We know what this car is capable of doing, what it can and cannot do. Build that chemistry up for 2022.
Yeah, definitely. You want to build that chemistry up for 2022, and I know a lot of people are looking forward to all of the changes that are going to be happening between now and the start of the 2021 season. Yeah, everybody's looking forward to it, but definitely 2022 is going to be the big year that everyone's going to keep their eye on with the introduction of the next gen car.
The excitement over the 2021 NASCAR season is really high, especially with some key drivers landing new rides, such as Bubba Wallace joining 2311 Racing, Christopher Bell going to Joe Gibbs Racing, Kyle Larson returning back with Hendrick Motorsports, Chase Briscoe with Stewart Haas Racing, but a lot of that is still being overshadowed by the potential excitement for the NASCAR Cup season in 2022. 2022 will see the next generation of Cup car that is more than just a fresh look. A newly designed car to utilize ground effect downforce, lower costs and more universal parts to save teams money, and allowing the drivers to shine on the track and make more of a difference rather than aerodynamics. But this is just one piece of the NASCAR puzzle that was originally planned for 2021. The original plan was NASCAR 2021 to see a new car, a diverse lineup of racetracks, and the start of a new era of NASCAR. But that all changed due to the pandemic this year. The pandemic postponed the introduction of the new car to 2022. Financial concerns for the team switching to the new car as the pandemic sent the economy into chaos. The decision was made during the temporary shutdown of the NASCAR season in March and April. Still, a lot of uncertainty faced NASCAR in 2021 as the pandemic may persist throughout the 2021 year. So, what do we know about the 2022 NASCAR Next-Gen car? For start, the chassis is a spec designed by one manufacturer, Dallara. Currently, several teams build chassis and supply to smaller teams through technical alliances and partnerships. This will save teams money and eliminate any advantage a team that may have in their own chassis design. A significant change that William Byron enjoyed during the testing in March was the shifting. Currently, all Cup Series car has an H-pattern 4-gear transmission that is very much used in older street cars. This will be replaced with a sequential 6-speed transmission, similar to supercars and almost all racing vehicles and production vehicles currently. This will allow more options for drivers, especially since NASCAR is looking at more road course events where you can have different variables in gearing. The biggest change is the reduction of aerodynamic downforce and instead ground effect downforce. A rear diffuser will increase the downforce and reduce the negative impact of dirty air, especially for the mile-and-a-half ovals where a dirty air bubble makes it hard for a faster car to pass another car ahead of it. This should increase the amount of racing and passing on the ovals. Additional changes coming with the new car includes independent rear suspension, larger rims and a single lug nut. clamp-on refueling system similar to what we see in most series to reduce fuel spillage and eliminate a gas can being carried. These changes bring the NASCAR Cup Series car to a more similar to stock car approach and appearance that we see on the road. This increased safety with cutting costs, drastically saving the team's money, and hopefully improving the on-track product. Many are comparing the new Cup car to Australian supercars, which primarily races on road courses and have grown in popularity over the years. The 2022 NASCAR Gen car may be the final piece NASCAR needs to complete the new NASCAR. We've seen teams gain a new sense of value with the charter system. NASCAR has redone track agreements for 2021 and beyond, and NASCAR is trying everything they can to lead a new resurgence to 2022 and beyond. Kobe, we've seen the introduction of the commonly called Car of Tomorrow in 2007, then the current Cup car, the Gen 6 car, and then afterwards, this car is coming out. What makes this car so different than the past generations of cars?
Oh, Joe, you pretty much said it all right there. I know it's gonna sound like I'm repeating verbatim, but starting off with some of the differences, as we saw with the car tomorrow, that car was mostly focused on the safety aspects, and then when the Gen 6 car, it was basically a building off of everything that the car tomorrow had, and now we have all of that with the next gen car, and also a lot of the things you mentioned. It's gonna be cutting costs, makes it more affordable for any potential team owners looking to get into the Cup Series. And also by looking at the model, it looks more like the muscle cars you see on the road. Definitely puts the word stock in the work. It basically puts the word stock in the in car together. And also the gearbox similar to Australian supercars, and that's definitely exciting because supercars put on some great shows down there, and also different type of braking, and the diffuser, as you mentioned, is going to help out a lot with the dirty air, and hopefully we'll be able to see passing a lot more easier than we've seen in recent years. And one of the biggest things, that it sounds a lot different than the Gen 6 car, and we have audio of the next gen car testing at Charlotte Motor Speedway, courtesy of Kristen Espinosa.
Definitely, it's something where a lot of people are talking about the sound of the car. They're really excited about it. Now, I know NASCAR has seen a lot of changes with the teams, tracks, and now a new car. This year, NASCAR has taken steps to be more inclusive to a diverse crowd. Does the potential increase of a diverse audience in 2021 and 2022 set up for NASCAR to see a big
Yeah,
boom
yeah,
in growth?
yeah. With this new car, it might attract some people from road racing, especially since we're going to see 6 road courses on the schedule. Well, six paying races. We're going to have the Daytona road course at the beginning of the season with the Busch Clash. But there's a lot to like about this car based on what we're hearing so far, and the jury is still out. How is it going to race around other cars? So far at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, we've seen 2 next gen cars on track, but we haven't actually seen them actually racing each other. So I think the big test is going to be when we finally get a pack of next gen cars running together. Like what's it going to be like? Are we gonna see passing a lot easier? Is it going to be much of the same as we see today, or is it going to be a lot more difficult? And certainly as NASCAR moves forward with the development of this car, that's something we're going to be looking out for.
Yeah, the development of the car is going to make it where we're going to see different kind of racing out there. And definitely, I think as well, with all the steps NASCAR has been doing to try to create a better fan experience at the racetrack, try to bring more fans from a diverse group. All these combinations fall into place, and we're seeing that in 2021. The racing I think is going to be really exciting for new fans at the new tracks. 2022 with this new car and the tracks, I think it's going to complete the package, and I think NASCAR is going to be really happy with where it's positioning itself. Now, we have seen drivers from different disciplines come to NASCAR in the past. I know it's from Indy cars, even Formula One. Now with a new car, More in line with the other racing vehicles around the world and a more diverse track lineup, do you think NASCAR will draw not only oval racers, especially in the United States, but international racers as well?
Yeah, I mean, with the way things are, it still might be a little difficult to bring on the road course ringers. I'd love to see road course ringers come back in big numbers, but as long as we have 36 charted cars and those teams aren't going to want to spend a lot of money on bringing an extra car on just for a road course ringer. So if that were to happen, let's say if for some crazy reason if Scott Dixon wanted to run a NASCAR Cup road course race, yeah, he definitely try to get a third Ganassi car, and I don't know how much. Yeah, it would obviously have a lot of funding, but oh my gosh, I lost my point there. But you get what I'm trying to say, Joe. What I'm trying to say is is that I do think that it could potentially get more interest on road courses, but I don't think that a lot of the road course ringers will want to take rides that are going to be uncompetitive.
Yeah, last thing I think any road course racer will want to do is be in an uncompetitive ride. You want to be in a situation where you're going to go out there, get wins. And I think what we're going to see is drivers like AJ Allmendinger might get a second chance, a second opportunity at a Cup Series car. I do see the potentials maybe a little later down the road, especially if NASCAR continues adding more road courses. If we get to the point where there's enough road courses, and if you're in Europe racing, especially if you're in the Formula Series, you may want to consider, instead of going open wheel, maybe trying the trucks, Xfinity, get into the Cup Series, try to find a way. A lot more diversity, and I think that'd be really great, especially if we could see different drivers from different disciplines coming in. The road course ringers, I think they're always fun to watch, but definitely I think we're not just going to see an uncompetitive team with this new car show up with a road course racer that's just going to try to go for a win unless they know they got a really serious chance of winning. But definitely, it's going to be really exciting to see what happens in 2022 with NASCAR.
Yes, and it'll be interesting to see which teams are going to be able to rise to the top, especially towards the back of the pack in the midfield, like Spire Motorsports. I know Spire's trying really hard to work on their program and improve. And according to Adam Stern from the Sports Business Journal, Spire has been inquiring about getting equipment from Hendrick Motorsports. And if they were able to get Hendrick equipment, that's definitely going to help them move up the grid a few spots because the team's trying really hard to position themselves for the next gen era so they can be as competitive as possible. And that next looking at our next story in recent years, everyone has gotten to know the name Ryan Luza in the esports world. He's the 2017 eNASCAR iRacing and Coca-Cola iRacing Series champion. However, Luza does have experience in the short track racing world. In 2015, he won the Pro Late Model Track Championship at Five Flat Speedway in Pensacola. After sponsorship woes in recent years, he turned his attention to iRacing. Last weekend, he returned to the wheel of a real live race car, driving for Dustin and Jamie Skinner. In the race, Luza dominated the entire event and won at New Smyrna Speedway in his first time driving a pro late model in 5 years. And next month, Luza will compete in the Snowflake 100 Pro Late Model race at Five Flat Speedway with Jet Motorsports, and that's the same team that fills the car for the fiery short track racer known as Stephen Nassie. Joe, do you think we could be witnessing the resurgence of Ryan Luza's racing career?
It does appear we might be seeing the rise of his racing career. And I think it'll be really interesting to follow this, especially from e-racing, getting that competition, and then coming to the ovals. I know a lot of people will compare this to William Byron. Byron, of course, e-racing, then got here. I think this could be really motivating for more people to see if it could come into, you know, racing outside of the e-racing area and be competitive. This is going to be great for everybody, especially the e-racers that are out there and upcoming. The motivation that if I could really master these skills, hone my techniques, I could get an opportunity to go out there and really race for wins out there and maybe even get to the Cup Series.
Yeah, that would be a great story if Ryan Luzo was able to restart his racing career and progress up through the ranks. Especially since it seemed like his real life racing career might have been over due to sponsorship woes. but he got an opportunity to come back after several years competing in iRacing, one of the top iRacers in the world, and now getting a chance to get back in a pro late model and go out there and dominate, win that race, and beat Stephen Nassie, one of the top names on short track racing across the country. It just shows that Ryan Luza is one heck of a talent. And I know you mentioned e-racers or i-racers, like, well, I guess whatever you guys want to call them. I said, do you think this should inspire all of those people out there trying to continue pursuing their dreams?
Easily, this is an inspiration. If I was iRacing, e-racing, the big thing for me is this guy did it. What did he go? What kind of route? Definitely the simulations, of course. We know there's iRacing. People have compared it to other video games out there, well, simulators that are out there on the market for people to use. And of course, a lot of times we're seeing competition as well, where the FIA Gran Turismo through online, they have competitions as well. And then this year with the pandemic, how we saw a lot of e-racing take over for a while, and then some places they allow fans to challenge the real race car drivers. This is a great opportunity for somebody. I know motorsports has always had a barrier when it comes to initial costs. It costs so much money to go out to whether your local karting track, short track, and start getting into racing. For a smaller price, you could get into sim racing. That could get you somewhere within racing. That's a win for the industry and everyone involved.
Yeah, definitely will be a huge win. And moving forward, if Ryan, let's say how Ryan Luzo just won this race, if he goes down to the Snowflake 100 and ends up winning that as well, it may lead to more opportunities. But as we all know, it's going to take sponsorship money to be able to do that. And seeing how well Ryan Luzo drove against some of the top short track racers at New Smyrna Speedway, he just shows he has the talent to make it in stock car racing, and if several companies are kind enough to sponsor him, it'll be interesting to see where his career can take off, because imagine if he, Joe, this would be the ultimate comeback story. You start off with racing career, then sponsorship dries up, then you have to go to an alternative of competing in the iRacing series here in eNASCAR, and then coming off of eNASCAR, going back to real life racing and progressing through the ranks. So definitely gonna be looking forward to following Ryan Luz's racing career moving forward.
Some big IMSA news this week. After taking a hiatus from sports car racing, it was announced that Chip Ganassi Racing will return to IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship Series. This is following the conclusion of the Factory 4 GT programs when we saw Chip Ganassi depart the IMSA series. Now Ganassi will enter a Cadillac DPI, returning to the top category to fight for overall wins in each IMSA event. That is good news for DPI, especially with the departure of Team Penske from the series at the end of this year. Now Ganassi and Cadillac teaming up makes sense due to their relationship in NASCAR with General Motors. Of course, we all know when it comes to IndyCar, Chip Ganassi is with Honda Power. Their driver lineup and sponsorship details have not been announced. We will be following this on future Grid Network programming. Kobe, are you surprised that Ganassi is returning, and this time to the prototype category?
Oh yeah, Joe. When you're looking at Ganassi, I'm actually kind of surprised that they returned this soon. I expected them to return to the prototype category eventually, but I thought that would be in the LMDH era. I had no idea that they were going to be entering a Cadillac DPI. I thought they were going to remain aligned with Ford, and that Ford was going to be entering the LMDH era. But and with Ganassi going to Cadillac, I think it might be telling of what Ford's thinking with the next generation of prototype regulations. So will we see a Ford LMDH in the future, or a Ford hypercar? Like I always say, I'm sure our viewers think notice my drinking word. We're just gonna have to wait and see.
Wait and see. I know it's big news for fans of DPI to see Ganassi go in there, fill a void created from Penske. Now, with that said, who are some of the drivers that we could be seeing in that Ganassi ride in the Cadillac DPI program?
And since this Ganassi Cadillac DPI program was announced, I've actually been thinking about this, and this might be this might be far fetched and crazy, but I think it would be in Chip Ganassi's best interest to take the 2020 Wayne Taylor Racing Cadillac DPI lineup. I think that makes sense when you look at everything because one of the full time drivers, Ryan Briscoe. Ryan Briscoe drove for Chip Ganassi in IndyCar and just recently drove for him with the Ford GT program, and also Scott Dixon, who was Wayne Taylor Racing's endurance driver. You know, Scott Dixon is obviously Chip Ganassi's star IndyCar driver, and Ringer Van de Zandt has been doing really well in the Cadillac DPI, and he's out of a ride as well. So, those two Van de Zandt and Ryan Briscoe, they were contending for the championship up until the very last race at the Mobile 112 ROC one, which recently finished up. So I think that would be a potent driver lineup for Chip Ganassi to get and have Scott Dixon in for the Enduros. And we all know about Rick Hendrick, who said that Jimmy Johnson would be running the Rolex 24. So that lineup would make sense to me if we had Van der Zande, Briscoe, Scott Dixon in for the longer races, and then Jimmy Johnson for the Rolex 24. I think that makes sense in my book.
Makes a lot of sense. I think that'll be really exciting to see Jimmy Johnson, DPI, with Chip Ganassi, and then of course Scott Dixon. It's really just going to be interesting to think you could have one car with Jimmy Johnson, Scott Dixon sharing driving duties. That would just be amazing to see. I mean, I could also think of other drivers fans would love to see in their pairing up with them, but just those two alone, that's going to make it really exciting. And definitely, we want to remind everybody for 2021 for IMSA coverage, be sure to subscribe to the Grid Network. We're going to be providing more IMSA coverage next year, and we're really excited about it.
Yeah, definitely very excited. And there's some news coming out of Formula E today that I'm sure will have a lot of US fans excited. And major news dropped this morning for Formula E fans in the United States that Formula E has a brand new TV deal signing a multi-year contract with CBS Sports to broadcast live Formula E races starting in January 2021 with the Santiago season opener. The relationship with Fox Sports ends after becoming the series' first broadcast partner dating back to the inaugural season in 2014. CBS Sports will air over 60 hours of Formula E coverage. All 14 races in the 2020-21 season will air live across CBS Sports platforms, each in a 90-minute program. A minimum of two races, including the New York City E-Prix, will be shown on CBS Television Network. At least six more races will be shown on CBS Sports Network. In addition, a 1 hour preview show per race week. The remaining races, as well as the qualifying session, will be streamed on CBS Sports digital platforms. Do you think this is a good business move for Formula E's continued growth in the United States?
Yes, it does appear to be one of the starting steps to grow the audience here in the United States. Of course, definitely know since Formula E came, they went on essentially Fox for a while, Speed when it was still around. And overall, the coverage was, I would say, okay. A lot of people worked hard to bring coverage. I know Steve Matchett hosted it, but it was a lot of times, especially when it was because of the uniqueness of the live feed going to Fox and then Fox having advertisement commitments. They'll cut out a race and then we'll come back. Oh, we're on a safety car. We'll get you up to speed. Okay. Just some of the challenges. With CBS, of course, a lot of times we're seeing the competition between CBS Sports, NBC Sports, ABC, ESPN, and Fox Sports increasing. So CBS made an offer that, hey, we're going to do more for you, Formula E. Come to our program. I'm really going to be curious to see, especially with all the expanded coverage of Formula E, if we see more growth in it, do we see more expansion? A lot of times, especially this week on CBS, we have seen how CBS have been talking to Lewis Hamilton on their Today Show in the morning and their late night show with Stephen Colbert. If we can see Formula E grow and have a bigger presence on CBS Sports, that's going to really open the eyes. And I think that's really good that the two US races in New York will be on CBS.
Yes, and that move obviously makes a lot of sense. The other races that are in the United States, you obviously want to make sure that those are on network television, and that's a really great thing because we know Formula E's been doing pretty well, and it's one of the fastest growing forms of motorsport in the world right now, and the interest is starting to pick up a lot in the United States, and and I believe that this TV deal with CBS Sports is just going to take Formula E to the next level. Yeah. The partnership with Fox was great and all. Fox got Formula E started. They've been their partner since the very first season. But as we all know, those great relationships all come to an end at some point. And with CBS being their broadcast partner now, I only think that this will only take Formula E to the next level, especially here in the United States.
Take it to the next level. And then, of course, with the competition here in the United States for TV ratings, I think it's a big win for Formula E. And definitely, of course, if you're subscribed to us, one channel we recommend, Formula E Zone, Jack and all the crew there, great Formula E coverage. Now, one of the big things, of course, for NASCAR coverage, we always are following NASCAR. And one of the big stories is we're seeing Chase Elliott, and he is going to be in the Snowball Derby, one of NASCAR's biggest names right now. Of course, most popular driver, Cup Series champion this year, will enter the Crown Jewel short track race. Chase Elliott is entering this year's running of the Snowball Derby at Five Flags Speedway in Pensacola in early December. Now, Elliott is a two-time winner in 2011 and 2015 at the Snowball Derby, looking for his third. He'll be driving a super late model provided by a guy familiar to NASCAR fans, James Finch, who previously ran Phoenix Racing in the NASCAR Cup Series. Now, how exciting is it for short track racing community to essentially have the newly crowned NASCAR Cup Series champion and the sport's most popular driver, same person, Chase Elliott, at this event?
Oh, Joe, this is huge for the short track racing community and just racing in general. Chase Elliott is coming back to his roots. Chase Elliott cut his teeth in super late model racing on the local short tracks, and it's been really cool to see what Chase Elliott has become since then. Chase Elliott, young driver, got his first win at the Snowball Derby back towards the beginning of the 2010s decade, which is really crazy, and then won again in 2015, and since then he's been on the top in Xfinity, and went to the Cup Series, had his growing pains there, and we've watched Chase Elliott develop into a championship winning driver and really come into his own. And it's just fascinating watching how much a driver can grow over the years. Young Chase Elliott is definitely not the same driver now than he was when he won those two Snowball Derbies back in the day.
Yeah, he's definitely gone through a lot since those first Snowball Derby. Now coming here as the NASCAR Cup Series champion, it not only feels like, just, oh, we're having a big name driver coming. It almost feels like he's coming back after his successful journey to become a Cup Series. And I think that's really going to relate to the fans a lot. A lot of times, everybody gets excited when the person you've seen at the start of his career comes back to where he started and compete. One of the big things I feel, especially in the early 90s, it seemed a lot of times short tracks across the United States, when NASCAR had a lot more Sunday events, they would just, okay, we have 3 weekends where we're done not racing, so everyone can enjoy the NASCAR race. Now that NASCAR has more events, the short tracks and the Cup Series, I feel, have a greater divide. And essentially, this could really make it where short track fans that don't watch NASCAR Cup Series, well, heck, Chase Elliott is coming to this race. Maybe I'll go watch him at the Daytona 500, root him because I got to see him race at the Snowball Derby. So I think it's a win-win for everyone involved with this news. Now, time for some quick takes.
At the top of the program, we mentioned the crew chief moves with Adam Stevens going to the number 20 with Christopher Bell and Kyle Busch getting Ben Bayshore. And here's the rest of the 2021 Joe Gibbs Racing crew chief lineup. Chris Gabehart, Denny Hamlin, and James Small, Martin Truex Jr. remain unchanged. In Xfinity, Dave Rogers will work with his newest full-time driver, Daniel Hemrick, in the number 18 Toyota Supra. Jeff Mender will continue as Brandon Jones's crew chief. Jason Ratcliffe returns to JGR in the Xfinity Series to be Harrison Burton's new crew chief after working with Christopher Bell for the last several years as he's developed as a driver in Levine Family Racing this year. Chris Gale is leaving the NASCAR Cup Series to be the crew chief on the number 54 Toyota Supra with a mix of drivers.
Jeff Burton is joining Colleague Racing in 2021. Monday morning, shortly before noon, it was announced on Twitter that he'd be taking over the seat voided by Ross Chastain, who is going to the Cup Series drive the number 42. Now, Colleague Racing has a strong 2020 season this year, especially on the Super Series. They were really hard to be beat. Justin Haley, of course, made it to the championship before representing Colleague Racing, and there's still reports that Colleague is looking at a Cup Series presence in the future.
On Monday afternoon, Bob Pockris first reported that John Hunter Nemechek informed Front Row Motorsports that he wasn't returning to the number 38 Ford Mustang next year, and Nemechek posted on Twitter that he was thankful for team owner Bob Jenkins, the entire team, and everyone for giving him this opportunity to race in the Cup Series. And Nemechek will be announcing his 2021 plans soon in the distant future.
Aston Martin is going to be sharing the safety car duties with Mercedes at Formula One next year. Motorsports.com reported that Aston Martin will join Mercedes in providing safety car at Formula One events. No final decision yet in regards to Mercedes' future providing the service, and no word yet on exactly how many events we'll see the Aston Martin and the Mercedes. Sources have revealed that it is looking increasingly like Mercedes will step back from being the sole car supplier for the safety car. Mercedes have been providing safety car duties since 1996.
Reported first by Marshall Pruitt from Racer.com, FIA World Endurance Championship Team Proton Competition purchased both of the factory Porsches that competed in this year's IMSA GTLM class, and Proton Competition has plans to enter at least one of those Porsche 911 RSRs in GTLM in the Rolex 24 at Daytona in January. And additionally, Aero Motorsport will return to the Rolex 24 in January in the LMP2 class. Kyle Tilley, Dwight Merriman, Ryan Dial, and Paul-Luc Chatin complete the driver lineup.
Charlie Martin is raising awareness for Transgender Awareness Week. Racer Charlie Martin is one of many to bring awareness to Transgender Awareness Week. Charlie is a transgender woman who primarily races sports cars in Europe. Big goal is to race in the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Has been using her platform to bring awareness for creating a more inclusive environment for the LGBTQ plus community in motorsports. You can find her website in the link below in the video description, as well as her YouTube vlog. It's great seeing her journey throughout motorsports and her goal at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. We here at the Grid Network also strive to have a welcoming community for everyone in motorsports to enjoy the love of racing.
Jamie Little from Fox Sports will make history next year. She'll be doing the play-by-play broadcasting in the booth during the 2021 ARCA Menard Series season, and Jamie becomes the first woman named as the television voice of a national motorsport series. In a press release, she said she hopes that young girls aspiring to cover racing see the sky is the limit.
One of the big news, of course, Dane Cameron is joining Meyershank Racing. It was confirmed, and it definitely was one of the worst kept secrets around the paddock now. Dane Cameron will be joining the DPI program in 2021, joining Oliver Pia, as well as full-time racers in the number 60 Acura TPI. It was previously announced that AJ Allmendinger is joining MSR in his annual run for the Rolex 24. Endurance drivers will be named at a later date.
Following the end of his stint with Acura Team Penske and IMSA, Juan Pablo Montoya is making the full-time switch to the FIA World Endurance Championship. JPM will join Dragon Speed's LMP2 program, sharing the car with team regulars Ben Hanley and Henrique Hedman.
Natalie Decker tested positive for COVID-19. After picking up a Trans Am win at the Circus of America, Natalie Decker's 2020 racing season will end on a sour note, unfortunately. She won't be able to run her final race for AVE Motorsports because she tested positive for COVID-19. Now, she did post on Twitter she will be hosting an iRacing event Saturday. On behalf of everyone at the Grid Network, we wish Natalie a speedy recovery. We know she had a very hard 2020 year, and we're hoping for better success in 2021.
For some people, the start of the offseason brings exciting possibilities looking ahead to next year, and for others, there's a feeling of uncertainty about what lies ahead. And most recently, we've learned about the exit of several marquee names in the NASCAR broadcasting world. Krista Voda is leaving NBC Sports. Now, Fox Sports is letting go of 2 pit road reporters. Several days ago, Alan Cavana said he learned before the Kansas race that he would not return to Fox, saying in a statement that he was surprised and heartbroken. Earlier today, Matt Yoakum announced that he won't return to Fox Sports either after 20 years of coverage. So definitely, Joe, lot of changes coming in the NASCAR broadcasting world. Next year and beyond is going to be really strange without seeing some of the names that we've grown accustomed to over the years.
It's definitely going to be different. It's definitely been a very trying time for a lot of folks we know. And even I know a lot of folks right now here in Oregon, we're starting a 2-week shutdown. So some of you may have heard my dog breaking from home, wife and I. So we're doing the best, but we encourage everyone to be safe out there, and especially thinking about everyone going through a rough year. Now, we encourage everyone, be sure to like and subscribe to the Grid Network here on YouTube. We'll definitely be posting most content, including our Grid Girls program tomorrow. We encourage everyone to visit our Grid Patreon. Continue investing in us. We're growing. We're gaining media credentials. We're making plans for 2021. We're going to be really big, essentially expanding our presence around motorsports, talking to fans, getting interviews out there, and bringing you great content. And we definitely want to thank Colin, our Grid Patreon, for all the support. So definitely it's going to be something where we're going to keep growing. And then, of course, we got Grid Live Saturday. We're going to be previewing the MotoGP season finale. Will we see a 10th different winner? And definitely we encourage everyone to tune into Sunday's post-race as well. Kobe Lambeth at the podium finish. I'm Joe San Diego, along with my dog here, Kiska. Have a wonderful evening. We'll see you next time.